Come here, Omar. Come here. Come here, baby. Omar, come here. Come here. Come here. When it comes to Joe's undeniable, even if he wants to deny it to himself, so he can view himself as a good person, low opinion of me. There's never any, on his part, cutting me any slack, giving me the benefit of the doubt based on the current circumstances, okay? For example, I was on the phone all goddamn day long on Monday. I was running back and forth to the neighbors, okay? In between all this, I find out that my mother ordered a $1,600 total gym, and when I tell her that was insane, you can't have that, you can't keep trying to reason with her, she screams at me viciously, okay? And then either she hung up or I did, it doesn't matter, there's no point, I can't stop her, but it's like talking to a brick wall, okay? It's, you know, that was my hellish day, okay? Plus running back and forth to the neighbor. Plus, because Joe had already told her that I'd hurt my arm and I was going back home, back to Massachusetts, which he didn't have, there's no need for him to do that, but set that aside, okay? Then I have to tell her that I didn't, okay? And that, that I'm not going, that I need to use her computer to cancel flights to get info. Then I wind up crying to her over the situation with my mom, and that's why I'm canceling my flight, which I wouldn't have, felt compelled to do. And I was never going to ask her to take me to the emergency. I was going to fly back and go to urgent care, and everything, yada, yada, whatever. Okay, so hellish day. Okay? Hellish day. I wasn't thinking of anything else. Certainly not thinking of that the garbage needs to be emptied, or there's some whatever bullshit that Joe was saying on Tuesday night that I had no idea what he was talking about. I had a hellish day. Was mentally, emotionally, physically, the whole 9 yards, exhausted. At the end of it, I was going to have some thawed out blueberries and a can of salmon, but I didn't have any salmon. Would never have grabbed the last can of salmon on Joe because he's working over in time and he might want that salmon. I would never do that. And I just wouldn't do that. I'm not going to take that salmon. It's the last can, unfortunately. And there was tuna. I didn't want tuna. So I came up here around 7 o'clock and stayed up here. Okay? I didn't watch a drop of TV. I didn't do anything, actually, but be on that phone, be all anxious and nervous over my mom and over crying my eyes out to the neighbor, and, which, again, I didn't want to do. It turned out it was okay because she could relate, but, that was a miracle in itself. I would never known that. And it just was pure chance. Because she said it. She's like, it's talking to a brick wall. And then I said, I don't want to yell at my mom. I feel bad when I yell at her, but she's behaving insanely and won't listen to reason. And she's like, I know, it's like talking to a brick wall. And then she proceeded to tell me her own experience. Pure chance. You betcha anything, I bet Joe doesn't know about it, and he won't know, because I'm not going to share my day with him. Even if he wasn't, I was mumbling and talking out loud when he was upstairs in the kitchen, and I wasn't really saying it to him. I was kind of just saying it out loud. I wasn't expecting to engage him. And he's like, don't you yell at me. Don't you burden me with your drama. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, he comes after midnight to offer me his computer, and I snapped at him that why you offer me, and he flew into a rage, verbal tirade against me, how ungrateful I am, and this, that, and what have you. Okay. So of course, this was Monday night. Of course, Tuesday, I'm just going to stay out of his way. Okay. Not bother him, not asking for anything, just stay out of his way. Okay. After the way he treated me the night before. Okay. The smart thing to do is stay out of his way. Okay. He worked 14 hours, whatever. So I did watch a little bit of TV. Again, not watching his TV now at all, not going near his computer, not even going near the kitchen except to get water. Haven't for 2 days anyway. And I'm almost 20 pounds less than when I came here 5 months ago. 5 months ago, I was 205.8. Now I'm 187.8, so just about 20 pounds, 18 pounds. But I dropped 5 pounds from fasting for 2 days, and you always want to put it back on, so, But I've still maintained the weight, and I didn't gain it, and so, again, circumstances, He's had circumstances where he's in a bad mood, where he snapped at me. That last time around, that a couple of you strangers labeled abuse without me saying it. Like you said that's whatever. The way he treated me, I didn't do anything wrong. Okay? And the next day when he's calmed down, he wants to pretend like nothing happened, and I wouldn't let him off the hook. And then he goes, well, I didn't feel well. Oh. That's okay. It's okay. So there's no cutting my slack. There's no giving me the benefit of the doubt, okay? When it comes to his perceived that I'm ungrateful, or how dare I snap at him, or the house is not kept up to his standards, right? So then Tuesday, I scanned the kitchen. I said to myself out loud, like I used to, Devin had to probably say since I was a kid. Because remember, with Donald, he was just an asshole all the time, and he could get mad for any reason. With Joe, it's certain things that trigger him, okay? And otherwise, he's a really nice person, too. See? But every time I get triggered, he gets triggered and treats me like that, it chips more away at my self-esteem or whatever. But anyway, I knew he was upset with me, so I was going to make sure that there was nothing wrong. And I scanned the kitchen, and I wiped down the placemats, like I've been doing every single night, both placemats, even though I only use one and he uses one. His gets dirty too. I wiped down the whole table, the placemats, the counters, everything, looked all around. Okay, is there anything for him to possibly be upset about? Okay. And I decided that there wasn't. And I went upstairs for the night, for good. Not to go to bed, just to be upstairs for the night. Okay. And then after 10, it was, get down here right now and clean up that mess by the door. And I was like, oh my God, flashback. Where I think that I've done nothing wrong, and he's down there screaming viciously at me to get down there and clean up by the door. And then he proceeds to go on a tirade against me about the state of the kitchen the day before. That he had to empty the rubbish, and he had to do this, but he started off with not even saying, he's just like, you never clean around here, you never do this, I'm picking up your messes all the time. And at one point, I said to him, you leave messes too. He's like, I can leave messes, I pay the mortgage here. Yeah, and I'm not intentionally doing anything, fucking prick. I'm not intentionally doing anything. And if you gave a fuck about me or cared about me, you'd cut me some fucking slack. especially with it, I did. But anyway, so then I said, what did I do? And I said, I do clean, Joe. I've been making a conscious effort. And he's like, not good enough. Not good enough. Vicious, mean, when I'm crying my eyes out in front of him. But that's not abuse in his eyes. He's triggered, and it's okay. Because he's so good to me and so nice to me again. Reminiscent. How good was my father to me. He took me in. I would have been in a foster home. Okay. I knew Donald didn't love me. My father, when he treated me that way, but then he's nice to me in between, making me feel like a worthless piece of shit. Was supposed to love me. Same with Joe. Totally different than Donald, because Donald was all the time. Donald was just a motherfucking asshole, period. He wasn't nice to his mother at all. Okay? But when someone's nice to you most of the time, but gets triggered and flies into a rage and makes you feel like that you're a worthless piece of shit and not good enough and not perfect enough, and then you're on eggshells all the time because you never know what's going to trigger that person who you thought loved you way more than dirt at the door, you know? The point is, it's his home. I'm just a guest. But the fact that he can do that, can scream at me viciously, and whatnot, but then he'll say, you hurt me. You hurt me, that you view me as a dictator, or say that I'm acting like God or whatever. But look at your behavior, Joe. One night you're throwing me out. The next day when you've calmed down, it's, I don't really want you to leave. Yeah, Donald didn't want me to leave either. Donald didn't want me to leave. My father tried to say how much he loved me. Between treating me like shitty and making me feel dirty because he was admirable. He was admired my beautiful, voluptuous body. Yeah. Joe thinks he does nothing wrong. He says things to me, like, I just feel like you don't appreciate me, and I get triggered. You don't appreciate all the nice things I do for you. And you're never going to think I'm appreciative enough, Joe. Even when I try so hard, it's not good enough. I.e., you're not good. You're not perfect enough. It's essentially what it's saying. He can deny it all he wants. He can tell himself he's the most wonderful person in the world if that helps him sleep at night. You know? I'm not the only one who disagrees. Broken my heart. He thinks he can. It's what they do. It's what Irv did. My abusive alcoholic stepfather. His reasons for behaving that way wasn't that he was triggered, or like Joe hates his job and is stressed out and whatnot, and whether or not he wants to admit it to anybody, even to himself. He resents the fact that he's working so hard and I don't have to work. And I know that he does. I don't care. His behavior indicates it. It also indicates that He doesn't give a fuck about our friendship, or he'd be afraid to treat me the way he does. He'd be afraid of losing me, and he's not. He's not even sorry afterwards. He turns it around and tries to be nice and says, I'm not going to get into a he said, she said, and I know I'm a good person, and you could sit there hating me, and meanwhile, am I sitting here hating him? No, he broke my heart. I'm sitting here in tears, in pain, that you can do that to me and just think nothing of it, and make excuses and view yourself as a good person, and think you can offer me a ride to the hospital or whatever, and it just makes up for everything you did. My father never apologized, but he did once he calmed down. Remember, in his eyes, I deserved it. Just like in his eyes, Then he was so nice to me until the next time. But you never know when the next time is going to happen. The abusive alcoholic stepfather, Irv, used to beg and plead, and tears coming down his eyes, for my mom and I to forgive him. When I was, little girl, 8, 9, 10. It's all different examples. But the fact is, if you have power over somebody, and they never know when you're going to be triggered, when you're going to trigger them because you're an imperfect human being, and you might be having a really, really bad, incredibly bad day about which they are completely unaware of, then, there's nothing more to say. He views himself as a good person. He points out all the wonderful things that he does for me, and he's so good to me and so nice. Same thing my father did. And so I deserve how you treat me, and it's no big deal, and